How's it going, boys? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some maps that we all grew up loving, and when we go back to play them, it feels like we're going back in time again. I know some people have different maps that they think are nostalgic, but overall, with myself included, these maps are generally considered some of the classics. We'll be breaking the map down from how it plays, to the atmosphere, even the point in time it came out in, and etc. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and without wasting any more time, let's get right to it. Starting off today's list at number 5, we have Noctar Toten. I mean, it's no surprise this map is on the list, it's where it all started. I think we all remember completing the campaign and unlocking this mode. The cutscene is just iconic, I mean, just take a look. Beautiful, right? I'm not gonna lie, when I was 8 years old playing this for the first time, I may have shit my pants, but that's besides the point. Now I could endlessly talk about Noct, but what makes it nostalgic is just the simplicity of the map. There's no pack-a-punch, no Easter egg, it's just you, a few weapons, and an endless horde of zombies. It's just very easy to get into. But it's not just what's on the map, it's what's around the map. The distant groans from the zombies, the music that's constantly playing, the old torn down bunker, and etc. I think the most nostalgic part has to be the memories. The countless hours we spent playing split screen with the boys or with friends past midnight on a school night. I think for me at least, it has to be the greatest memory of them all. While I don't really play this map anymore, whenever I do, I just get thrown back to 2008. Coming in at number 4, we have Shadows of Evil. You might be thinking, Shadows? That's new. And then you realize BO3 dropped 10 years ago. For me, it's not as nostalgic as some of the other ones on the list, but for people that joined in for zombies a bit later, I can definitely see how it's nostalgic. The reason I find it nostalgic is simply because it marked a new era in zombies. With well put together Easter eggs, multiple things you can do on the side like a specialist, which some people hate on, but I personally think it's cool and it doesn't last too long, so it's not that broken. It also added gobblegums that grant you temporary or permanent abilities. Those are hit or miss though, I personally don't mind the not busted ones. Aside from that, I feel like after BO2's hit or miss maps, it was a breath of fresh air to finally get a good first map with a ton of replayability unlike Transit. And man, they went out with a bang. Shadows feels so different from any other map. It almost feels like a new game in a way, especially with the 1940s themes they were going for. Usually a big change is bad, but Shadows did it in a way where it still felt like zombies, and that's what made it so memorable. And do you guys remember the zombies community back then? That was the peak of zombies. It got so popular people took it upon themselves having esports out of it. I could go on and on, but let's move on to the next one. At number 3, we have Mob of the Dead. I'm not gonna lie, I'm ass at this map, as in it took me a week to get proper footage because I kept dying too early. But I can't deny when I think of zombies, Mob is always up there. For starters, just the way you spawn in the map is something, man. Shadows had the atmosphere, but Mob of the Dead had both the atmosphere and a one-of-a-kind story, and most notably a one-of-a-kind crew, with Michael Finn, Weasel, Sal, and Billy Handsome. The devs definitely took their time cooking up a good story for them because to this day this is one of their most well-written ones. In short, the crew is stuck in an infinite cycle and the whole Easter egg is trying to break the cycle. Aside from story, this map had arguably the best zombies design. I mean, look at this. Iconic. And don't even get me started on the Warden. Probably the most iconic zombie boss aside from the Panzer. Usually every other map has a unique weapon, but I don't think many are as memorable as the Tommy gun and the Uzi. It just fit the map so perfectly. Mob definitely gave you a ton to do on the map. From the Golden Spork to the Hell's Retriever, even the way you pack a punch. It was just done in a way that made it stand out. The more I talk about it, the more I want to boot up Mob, so let's move on to the number 2 spot. Almost making the cut at number 2, we have Duries. I mean, what can I say about this map? It laid out the blueprint for what zombies would later become, whether it was for better or worse. This map offered a lot for its time with a quite simple but amazing 3-lane layout. And what's cooler than a map where the initial zombie outbreak began? There's just so much lore in Duries, but a few that really stood out are the Easter egg, which involves shooting a pap gun at the statue thing and playing hide and seek with Samantha. Also throwing a monkey into the furnace. It does nothing, but something about hearing the monkey bomb scream creeped me out back then. And something some people don't know about is a manual that's laid out on the map, stating that if the secret to 115 is at risk of being let out, you are instructed to take a cyanide pill. Putting lore aside, Duries introduced the first ever pack-a-punch machine, which now isn't anything crazy, but back then the guns weren't so good, so it was pretty game-changing. For me, the most fun I had on the map was having 4 people camp on the catwalk with the ray guns. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. It was one of the only maps in COD Zombies that I didn't mind running with randoms, and if you had one of these bad boys, it made the experience so much better. Many players, including myself, will find themselves going back to this map, and it always feels like it's the first time playing it again. At number 1 on today's list, there's just no argument, it's Kino Toten. For some, Duries was the most nostalgic, but I feel like most people's first experience with zombies was in Kino. The atmosphere was really something at the time. A very creepy old abandoned theater where experiments were conducted. It definitely gave off more World at War vibes, but it makes sense as it was going to be a DLC for it. Kinda glad I didn't make it to World at War or else it wouldn't have had the same impact. Kino didn't necessarily add anything new, but it was a complete version of Duries. With a very simple map design, pack-a-punch, perks, and the new introduction of traps like the bipod machine guns and fire trap. It was a perfect map to get the hang of zombies as there were multiple wide open areas to train, and the goal of Kino is pretty simple. No Easter egg, just survive. And who can forget the Thunder Gun, quite literally the most memorable wonder weapon. We see it in BO1, BO2 technically, BO3, and BO4, but we don't talk about that one. And the lobbies were priceless at the time. You never knew who you were gonna get. You either got a guy going down 70 times by round 20, a tryhard, a guy who quits once he goes down, the medic, or the troll. They were just such good times, man. We will never get those times back, but at least Kino's always gonna be there to be replayed over and over. That's gonna do it for today's video, lads. Hope y'all enjoyed. This wasn't an easy list to make as many people have different maps they find nostalgic, but I hope it did an okay enough job. If you feel like there's other maps that could have made it on the list, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Or if you disagreed with any of the maps on this list, also feel free to leave it in the comments below. Feel free to like and subscribe to stay up to date, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bam!